Hello and welcome back to the channel. So today I kind of want to talk about the 2026 NFL players who I think could possibly pan on the NFL. This is an idea that I had. I did a revisited last year from my 2023, even before I even started the channel, and seeing like 3 years after the fact to see if these players did pan out. Some of them did, some of them definitely did not. And so I think I'm going to do this every single year of after the draft, after I have some time to kind of think about like what their roles are going to be, seeing who am I going to bet on that at least one player from this draft is going to work out? I do have a rule. I can't just keep on picking like first round picks, and it's kind of like kind of cheating at that point. So like it can't be more than half, obviously, and obviously, like I said, I have to pick some like day three picks. And with as deep as this draft is, like yes, there wasn't as much star power as there had been other drafts. It's very deep. I think there's gonna be some players in the fourth and fifth round that are going to work on the NFL, and I'll be very surprised if they don't. So, without further ado, start with the NFC side. And let's go with the NFC North. Now, NFC North, start with Chicago Bears. Everyone thought going into the draft that they'll go defense tackle, they'll go defensive end the first round, and they didn't. But I don't think that you are necessarily upset with the player that you got because it kind of fell into your lap. I mean, no one really thought that Dylan Thieneman would be there for the Bears. It fits a need because you need a safety because obviously, like I said, you lost Kevin Byard, you lost your other safety, and that was a big part of your defense being somewhat successful is being the fact that you had a lot of turnovers. Dylan Thieneman became that guy, and he's also a do-it-all kind of safety. He's a guy who could be a free ranger in the back. He can also play in the box. I mean, he did pretty much did all for both Purdue and also Oregon. Like I said, it would be very surprising if Dylan Thieneman fails in the NFL. Like maybe he's not a superstar, but like I think he's definitely going to be a star in the NFL. Cause people headaches, and then like I said, I think he'd have a long career because I said he'd have like a lot of injuries in college. So I don't think that's going to follow him into the NFL. So I think Bears got themselves a second contract kind of guy and somebody who man the back end for a long time. So Dylan Thieneman, he is my guy for the Bears. So I think he's going to pan on the NFL. Now moving on to the Lions. The Lions, I like their first three picks, but I'm going to go with the one who I feel is the most solid, who I feel like, at bare minimum is going to be good. Maybe not great, but good. And honestly, good O-line play is all that you really need right now. And that's going to be Blake Miller. Blake Miller has been really solid for Clemson the last 4 years. He started like 50-something games, so he's got plenty of experience. Plus, he's going to the offensive line that desperately needs him because you're moving Panay Sewell over to the left side. Now you got Blake Miller. If you just have solid O line play with the fact that you have dynamic weapons all around, he's going to be a big part of that offense because you desperately need to keep Jared Goff upright for this to be able to work out. So, like I said, is he anything like special? No, but neither was really Taylor Decker. But Taylor Decker was there for 10 years. So if you get like basically a replacement for Taylor Decker, a decade worth of tackle play, that's pretty daggum good. I'll take that. I mean, like I said, it's very hard to find good offensive line play. So again, Blake Miller, that was another first round pick, but love him to be able to work out. Now for the Packers. And the Packers obviously didn't have a first round pick. I don't mind some of their other picks. I think that I'm kind of waiting to see how, like I said, some of the transition is with like the new defense and everything like that. So I wasn't willing to put my faith into certain players. But the one thing that I do know, that's every single time with the Packers, is that they find offensive line. And also a guy who I thought was a little bit underrated, who surprised that he fell all the way to the fifth round, is Jaeger Burton. From Kentucky. Kentucky had a really good, like I said, interior offensive line. They had a couple guys there that I thought that could pretty much work in the NFL, depending on where they went. And based upon the Packers' track record of finding offensive linemen, of developing them, of making them into like the kind of play people they need to be, you're so the same offensive, basically the same exact offensive staff. Like I said, LaFleur is probably not going to go anywhere. Please, but so in my mind, like I said, I think he's going to get development. He's in a sore spot for them because again, they need offensive line depth. So if you're looking like 3 years down the line, I think that Jaeger Burton could potentially find himself a starting role because obviously, like I said, you're having a lot more development for some other guys. You're hoping they can fill roles. Some of these roles are pretty much open for anybody to try to claim. So if I'm Jaeger, maybe in Year two, we might see some more development, and then year three, he might take a starting role. But again, if I'm going to bet on somebody in the Packers draft that can work out, I'm going to take Jaeger Burton. So now moving on to the Vikings, and the Vikings made some interesting picks. Not that I didn't like them. It's just very risky. And the one that I don't feel that's is a risky at all. I think that's the most solid pick for the Vikings to make. That is getting Dominic Orange, Big Citrus himself, to man the middle of that defense. If you could tell me that, okay, Caleb Banks' foot's going to be fine there for the rest of his career, then sure, absolutely, I would go with Caleb Banks. But I can't trust it. I really can't trust it. And I like Jake Golday as well. I think that he fits well in the Vikings defense, but a very, very good nose who I know is going to work out because he's at the point of attack. He's great. Is he going to give you kind of pass rush? No, but that's not what you're looking for. You're looking for a guy who's going to be solid against the run, who's going to be able to free up both Jalen Redmond and hopefully Caleb Banks on the interior. And you now have a brand new basically defensive line for Brian Flores. I love Dominic Orange. I love Big Citrus. I love what he does. I think that he's going to work on the NFL. And again, it's a little underrated role at nose tackle, but again, it's a very important role, especially in trying to establish their line of scrimmage. So, love Dominic Orange going to the Vikings. He's the guy I'm going to plant my flag and be like, I know he's going to be good. Now moving on to the NFC East. So, Cowboys first. I mean, like I said, if this player somehow doesn't work out, whether it be like injury or something like that, it's going to be devastating because Caleb Downs is that good. Caleb Downs is so good. I mean, like he started as a freshman in a Nick Saban offense. Well, no, this is not offense. Nick Saban defense, okay, last year. Then he transferred to Ohio State because obviously when Nick Saban goes, like obviously there's a little what's going on, and you want to go what's best for you. I don't blame him at all. So again, he goes to Ohio State, immediately starts there, immediately becomes like a captain there, like which is crazy. Like I said, like he's a sophomore, he just got there, and people already gave him a captain. Like that's the kind of player you're getting from Caleb Downs. Not even talking about like the accolades, not even talking about anything else, but like the fact of like how people see him. That speaks volumes. So if Caleb Downs doesn't work in the NFL, I don't know. That's the one that's gonna like boggle my mind if that somehow happens. So again, he fits well with the Cowboys what they need to do because they need to fix their secondary. Obviously, you bring in the Eagles defensive pass game coordinator to be your new DC. Obviously, he wants to make sure you have great safety play. He wants to have great cornerback play too, which hopefully they get that too. But if you're just looking at somebody try to limit some of the explosive plays and is a really solid tackler, there you go. On top of the fact of being a great leader. So again, I would be very surprised if Caleb Downs does not work out. Now for the Giants, could go in a lot of different directions. I think the boom possibility of Arvil Reese is tempting, but I'm actually going to go with Francis Mauigoa because I just know that Mauigoa. I just know that offensive line is what they desperately needed, and him sliding in at guard, potentially taking over for the right tackle, Luminor. I think it was his name. In the future, like I said, if he gets hurt, like I said, having a great offensive lineman who's like amazing, a powerful kind of run blocker who, like I said, you might have like some problems with him at tackle, but he's going to be a great guard. You just got to protect Jackson Dart anyway, and hopefully he works out. So if I'm the Giants, I'm glad I got Mauigoa. Yeah, sure, you could have got Caleb Downs. Yes, that would have been amazing, and him not going to the Cowboys. But if I'm being honest, I am perfectly fine with having Francis Mauigoa being able to finally fix his offensive line, not worry about your right tackle position or the right guard position, because goodness gracious will be between Daniel Faalele and then Evan Neal. I mean, that's a crapshoot right there. Who you're going to start? So you finally filled out the offensive line. You feel pretty good about it, and then now you're like, okay, well, as long as we stay healthy, our offensive line should be pretty good. Maybe the depth isn't right there, but like our offensive line should be good. That's all you can ask for. So again, Francis Mauigoa going first round. Yes, another first round pick. I have a lot of first round picks, especially for the NFC East, but then it kind of trails off like who have first round picks. But speaking of that, first round picks, Eagles jumping the Steelers to get Mekhi Lemon. Now, I'm a big fan of Makai Lemon, and I like what I think in my mind what the Eagles are going to change into. Like right now with the AJ Brown led offense, like I said, it's a little bit different, but like what they're trying to change into, I think that Makai Lemon just fits that perfectly. Obviously, Sean Mannion, like he's a new offense coordinator, so bring a new philosophy. So you don't really know exactly what's going to work out, but I feel like okay, you have Devontae Smith is obviously the number one as number one. McCollum is going to be the number two. McCollum Lemon can be able to work in the slot. Both of them can take a work in the slot. But McCollum Lemon is that tough guy who's going to catch him in the middle. So is Devontae Smith, obviously a little bit smaller, but like in my opinion, I think that McCollum Lemon is not only have solid hands, but he's a great zone beater, and so is Devontae Smith. So if you try, like I said, obviously, like you probably have a lot of people trying to play like press man against them, but if you're able to have Eli Stowers and have Dallas Goedert like work the middle of the field, and they can't really win in man because again you have two great tight ends against linebackers in man. They have to probably play a little bit more zone. And but Kyle Lemon showed time again on tape, but like finding different creases, knowing where to stop, and he that's the reason why he won the Blitnikoff. So again, um, I would be very surprised if McCollum doesn't work out in the NFL. Same thing for the other top three wide receivers, unless Jordan Tyson gets hurt, and then Carnell Tate. Hopefully, like him going to Cam Ward led offense. Obviously, like, hopefully he works out there too. Last one for the NFC East. That's the Commanders. Obviously, didn't have a lot of picks, but one that I'm really excited to see his growth, especially because, like I said, he is transferred from being a safety to being a linebacker, um, going to Dan Quinn led defense that has known to be able to develop linebackers. And you see Bobby Wagner. I mean, Frankie Louisville, like obviously he started doing really well at the Panthers and then go to the Commanders and also had a really great role too. But you have Sonny Styles going in, absolutely phenomenal athlete. On top of anything else, he's a phenomenal athlete that doesn't really miss tackles. I mean, he literally had missed like what one or two last year. That's it. Like that's incredible. And the fact too of like you now have two dynamic basically weapons on your defense with Frankie Louva who can blitz like no one else. Sonny Styles can be a great QB spy. He can be he's great in coverage again. I would be surprised. I understand that people are like, well, he's picking like seventh overall. It's too high. Maybe it's too high for you. But if I can get a star player in this draft where there's probably going to be a lot more who are just solid than just being like superstars, I'm going to get that guy. And as the leader, like potential leader of the defense in the next 2 or 3 years, I would be surprised Sonny Styles doesn't work out either. So again, I know all these are first round picks in the NFC East. It's not going to be that way for most of these divisions. But moving on to NFC South. Falcons. Falcons go. I could go in a lot of different directions. I kind of was debating between Zachariah Branch or Avion Terrell. Zachariah Branch does fit a good role for the Falcons, who need a number two option outside of Drake London. I don't know if he's going to be that with Kevin Stefanski being the new head coach. I'm still kind of waiting to see like what's that really going to entail. But what I can say, the Falcons have needed a number two corner for a very long time. AJ Terrell has been a great corner when he's healthy. Unfortunately, he's had in the past like a couple of injury streaks. But you get Avion Terrell, get his brother. Avion Terrell, and I'll give him his credit. I'm not the biggest fan of Avion Terrell because of his tackling, but he's got a peanut punch down, and his coverage is great. Like his coverage is great. My only gripe is his run defense is pretty abysmal because he's a little bit smaller. But if I'm being the number two corner, so I'm not matched up against the number one guy, I've got hopefully great nickel play with if Billy Bowman coming back with other I'm trying to think of the other person who's doing playing nickel, but he's a pretty good run defender. Alford, who's also like I said nickel as well. I think he's still at the Falcons, but like I said, I feel like okay, I can sacrifice maybe a little bit run defense from Avion, by still getting shut down capabilities when he's on it. Because when he's on it, he's sticking coverage. So again, love that for the Falcons. Don't love it as a division, but like you address a need, you get the brother of like one of your star players, and so hopefully they can form a dynamic duo for the next 5 years. Hopefully not for me, but for the Falcons. So again, I'll be surprised if Avion Terrell does not work out in Atlanta. Like it'll be unfortunate if he doesn't live up to what people are hoping he can be. Moving on to the Panthers. I'm a Panthers fan who was a little bit lower on the draft than other people, and so trying to assume who I think is going to work out is a little bit hard for me. In my mind, I'm going out a little bit of a limb here because, and I'm trying to think of like Dan Morgan's plan. We bring in Luke Fortner to be the center for this year, but we get a guy in the fifth round, same height, who is potentially going to be a long term replacement, who I think is a very solid center. Cade Mays wasn't anything amazing, but he's a pretty solid center. And he was great, like I said, for a good little bit because he was like what I think he was a fifth round pick too, a fifth or sixth round pick, and you get him for very cheap. You have him at being basically a good player on your offensive line, surrounded by great talent in Robert Hunt and Damian Lewis. So if you're looking for the future and Sam Hyche takes over for next year, like I said, I think it's a good chance of being a good center because of the surrounding talent around him and being good on his own. So again, is it going on a little bit of a limb in the fifth round trying to project that this guy's going to work out? Sure, but I did it for the Packers. I'm doing it for the Panthers too. So again, I think that Sam's going to work out. I hope he does. We need stability at the center, and if he can be that, thank the Lord. So again, love him. Saints. It sucks that I like the Saints draft so much. I could go in a lot of different directions. Obviously, like I said, the first round pick situation where I'm trying to go more than half, so I kind of like cut down on some of the people. But I love this player, and I wanted the Panthers to select him. The fact that Saints picked him up is not surprising because every single year, one of the division rivals takes one of the players that I want. But Oscar Dope in the third round, tight end from Georgia, was heavily underutilized in Mike Bobo's offense. So again, I hate Mike Bobo for a lot of different reasons, but I think that he was underutilized at Georgia. I think he's got immense talent. Him going to a Kellen Moore run offense, he knows he's going to how to use him. He doesn't use him right now. He can transition in the NFL because he's still got Jawan Johnson, but Jawan Johnson's getting up there in age. He's close to 30. So again, you basically get your Jawan Johnson replacement. You develop him. You have two tight end sets with him. And like I said, he's got such great movement skills. Like he was highly regarded coming out of high school. I remember him going to Georgia, and he was supposed to be the next big thing with Brock Bowers. But then, obviously, Todd Monken leaves Georgia. Unfortunately, like I said, he has to deal with Mike Bobo, and it's just not the same. It's not the same kind of offense. Like calling screens nonstop, but he's kind of do it all kind of tight end that even if he's not like the upper echelon tight end, I think he's going to work on the NFL. I'll be surprised if he fails, and it's gonna hurt for a long time because again, I really want him to go to the Panthers. He's going to go to the Daggum Saints. So, sorry. Going to the last one for the NFC South, the Bucks. Don't know how. I mean, I know how, but I hate how it happened. The fact that Ruben Bain goes to pick 15 for the Buccaneers, and I started to realize it at like pick like 12 that it was a possibility. You can literally look at the draft stream and see my reaction. Ruben Bain fixes a lot of the problems that the Buccaneers have. Not only do they still have Vita Vea, who's a great interior presence, but now you have also a great edge rusher who's at bare minimum is going to help your run defense. That at times was porous. So you already have that. Plus, also, you need a pass rush. And again, I love Ruben Bain, even the crocodile arms. I don't care. Ruben Bain's power is going to overwhelm a lot of people. And the fact that he's got a great first step, he was trained by Jason Taylor. So again, he's got great moves as well. If you just watch the film, he's got great moves. So again, the fact he fell all the way to 15 is ridiculous. So him being paired with Yaya Diaby, and hopefully you can get some kind of interior pressure with the Buccaneers. Its potential to be a very, very dangerous defensive line, and I hate that as a Panthers fan because again, I was hoping like, oh well, maybe they might get an edge rusher, but like who knows what the Buccaneers are really going to do the first round, and they get the best edge rusher. I don't care what you think about Dave Bailey or what you feel about Arvo Reese or whatever. Ruben Payne is the best edge rusher, and they got him at pick 15. So again, hate that for the division because now I'm gonna have to see him for the next like 8 or 10 years. So that's gonna be great. But again, Ruben Baines, I would be very surprised if he doesn't work out. Maybe you could say he's a crocodile arms. I don't care. Like power works on the NFL, proven time and time again, works on the NFL. So again, if he was short arms, just quick, then yeah, maybe. But like he is going to dominate people. Maybe not the upper echelon like your Panay Sewells, but like not every single person is gonna have Panay Sewell. So, anyways, that's gonna suck. Going to the last one, NFC West. These are a lot of first round picks. I kind of go kind of quickly with this. Something I don't have a lot of comments about. Cardinals, Jeremiah Love. Look, is it a stupid decision to draft him? Yes. But is he an outstanding player that I think is going to work regardless? Absolutely. Like, yes, their offensive line is not great, but you're talking to a offensive minded head coach. But I think he's going to put in the best situation. Maybe might not be as explosive in his year one because he's not having the rushing lanes, but hopefully, keyword hopefully, the Cardinals actually look to improve the offensive line and maybe the QB situation, who knows, over the next year or so, so that going into year two for Jeremiah Love, he can actually reach his potential because he's a fantastic talent that I think is going to get wasted against Arizona, which sucks for him. But am I thinking that he's just going to be like a bust? No. I think he's still going to work. I mean, like Saquon Barkley didn't really have a lot of great offensive line play, still worked out in the NFL. Like the Falcons, yes, they took Bijan Robinson. They do have a better offensive line. I'll give them credit what credit is due, but also worked out. Carolina Panthers at times with Christian McCaffrey didn't have the best offensive line, especially the tackle position. Good Lord, we couldn't fix that. I mean, we did have Taylor Moton. I'll give credit to Taylor Moton, but left tackle was a revolving door. Sometimes, like I said, the interior offensive line wasn't necessarily the best because we had 1 year Michael Jordan was a daggum guard. I'm going to go there anyways. But if you were telling me that Jeremiah Love, 3 years down the line, looks like a total bust, I'm going to be very surprised. Maybe you could say it's because of mismanagement with the team, but I'd be very surprised that happens. Rams, oh gosh, Rams draft was hard to kind of decide, and I'm having to go on just my projection of what I think that Ty Simpson can be, because I like Ty Simpson going into middle of this year of seeing his tape, and I'm not going full Dan Orlovsky over here. I'm gonna say he was the best quarterback, but there are throws that Ty Simpson makes that are NFL throws. He has a pretty good arm. Is he have a Josh Allen arm? No, but like I said, I think that's ridiculous. I think he's going to, and it is a kind of concern: is he going to help in the NFL? I'm a fan of Bryce Young, and Bryce Young has shown toughness. I think Ty Simpson can be able to show toughness. He just got hit. He just got hurt because he also had no kind of run game for Alabama. So if you're going to the Rams, who have a pretty decent run game that can improve their run game as well, because who knows, they could probably trade a first round pick for a running back next year. Who knows? But if I'm the Rams and I have great talent and he's my backup quarterback for Matthew Stafford, who's going to learn behind him, who's going to be able to improve some of his footwork that he definitely need to work on. He's already got pretty decent mind as far as making adjustments, like calling audibles at the line, that kind of stuff. Like he was given that at Alabama. So it's a little bit of a risk, but I'm going with it, and I'm going to put a stamp that I think that Ty Simpson is going to be solid. I don't think he's ever going to be a star, but in the kind of offense that you have and the kind of defense that you have right now, honestly, just not messing it up is what's going to lead the Rams for the next 5 or so years. If he can take over and that defense improves like I think it's going to, and you already have the offensive weapons that you have, just don't mess it up. And if you don't mess it up, you're fine. So, you saw how Sam Darnold did. Yes, obviously much better defense with the Seattle Seahawks, but You're hoping the Rams get to that point with the moves they made in the offseason. So again, if I am the Rams and I take Ty Simpson, I'm just hoping that he can carry the torch, be the guy, the next guy, and hopefully can develop into being maybe a star. Never going to be a superstar, but like being a star, yeah. So that's a little bit hard because a lot of them were just a lot of the Rams picks were just developmental picks, and so it's kind of a crapshoot who I'm going to pick anyway. So might as well go with the person that I feel pretty confident with. I'm confident a lot. Sorry about that. I'm not sick. I don't know why I'm just coughing a lot. So 49ers, another one. Good Lord, I didn't like the draft. It was so hard for me to find a person that I think is going to work out. So if I'm putting my money on who is going to work out in the 49ers draft, I'm not putting it in their wide receiver they took. I'm definitely not. I don't feel confident with him at all. And I kind of am a little bit low on him, but I think that he's a good complement to Christian McCaffrey. So I'm going to go with Kalen Black in the third. Again, I don't love the 49ers draft at all. I mean, I could go Grayson Halton, but like get into your pressure and whatnot. But I just don't know if he's going to work out in the NFL. I'm just so concerned. But if I'm looking for a not in the same exact vein, but a kind of like a Kyle Manung guy who I liked last year, of getting a compliment, small running back who has a lot of power, pairing up with your star running back. Obviously, Christian McCaffrey way better than DeAndre Sweat. But if I'm giving some Christian McCaffrey a little bit lesser load, and I'm putting in Kalen Black, who I think can work out in the 49ers offense, I'm just looking for a compliment. I'm not thinking that he's going to be a star or anything, but like working out and like, hey, in 3 years down the line, hey, yeah, Kalen Black was a pretty good third round pick for us. Then sure, I'm fine with that. But like I said, it's very slim pickings on who you can potentially pick of like, oh, I think this is going to work out for the 49ers. Because the 49ers draft was, I don't feel great about it. Don't feel great at all. Last one, and it's kind of easy one. Seahawks, going to go Jadarian Price. I like Jadarian Price coming out of Notre Dame. Back up to Jeremiah Love. Kind of funny they're going to be playing against each other in their division. But he replaces Kenneth Walker, and I feel like it's a pretty good, hey, you get basically a 5-year contract, cheap contract instead of Kenneth Walker. Pair him up with Zach Charbonnet for the first year. He gets basically starting rest because Zach Charbonnet is still recovering from his injury, and then you can let Zach Charbonnet walk and then have Jadarian Price be the main guy. He doesn't have a lot of tread on his tires. It's the same as I think with Josh Jacobs. Now, am I trying to say that Price is Jacobs? No. But I am saying that like it helps when a very talented running back doesn't have a lot of tread on his tires, and you're hoping he could be that, bell cow back. I think that Price could be. I think that he could be. But obviously, like I said, he's very explosive. I think that is anywhere close to Jeremiah Love. I didn't have him near Jeremiah Love, but like you're in a pretty daggum good offense with great weapons around you that you don't have to be the guy. And so I like Jadarian Price and the Seahawks offense. And like I said, they have contract control for the next 5 years. Pretty decent contract. So again, Seahawks, they did pretty good. Now moving on to AFC. And I'm going to try to hurry up because, again, I'm noticing how long this video is taking right now. So AFC North, Ravens. Ravens go in a lot of different directions because I do like Zion Young. I do like Vega Wane. But a guy that I just feel so good about is Elijah Sarai. I don't know why. I think it's just because, like, watching Indiana, and obviously Omar Cooper gets a lot of the hype because, like I said, he has a lot of yak ability and whatnot. But every single time, like, they needed a third down, it was Elijah Sarai. And yes, like Rashad Bateman, like last year didn't have a great year, but the year before he had a great year. But you need a guy who's going to be very, very reliable. And if you get that kind of guy with Elijah Surratt, who can be a reliable third down kind of guy, moves Zay Flowers all around. Like I said, I think he can work on the Ravens offense because he is the kind of guy that can beat man. He's the kind of guy who reads zone pretty well. So like I said, he's shown it a little bit. More so, he just has some great releases and he knows how to position his body on those back shoulder throws that I think that Lamar can be able to throw to him. But early on, maybe his role might not be the biggest, but like by year three, I'm be very surprised if Elisha Wright just does not work out. Because again, I just feel that comfortable with him being like the go-to guy. Now moving on to the Bengals. Um, Maybe you could say a little bit of a homer pick because I'm an Auburn fan, but Connor Lew was so daggum good at Auburn, and it sucks so much that he like tore his ACL. So yes, it might not be a year one kind of scenario where like he comes in, he just tears it all up. But if Connor Lew comes back healthy from his injury, he is too daggum good to not start on this Bengals offensive line. That is terrible, terrible. So like, I mean, we've been talking about this for like, goodness gracious, I'm coughing way too much. For like 5 years at this point, like offensive line for the Bengals is atrocious. And if you're getting the kind of talent that Connor Lew is, that a lot of people were saying he's the best center in the draft, and then unfortunately he got hurt. But like he is that good. He could have been a second round pick, and you got him in the fourth round. So again, I think Connor Lew is going to work on the NFL if he it is a caveat if he does come back from the injury like decently, but if he does, I don't see a reason why he doesn't work out. And like, yes, you could say homer pick. I don't care. I'm an Auburn fan, but I saw him for 3 years. So again, love Connor Lew in the fourth. I think is a steal for the Bengals, and the Bengals need that pick. Brown's going to with Spencer Fano just because of the fact that you need offensive line help. I think he's a very solid. I think he's a pretty good. I don't want to say solid. I think he's a pretty good tackle that can play pretty much anywhere on the offensive line if need be. Because again, I don't love your depth. I think that you made some great signings, so your stars are pretty good. But if one goes down, like you know what's going to happen. So again, getting Spencer Fano who can be able to play inside if need be. I think he can play tackle, which I think there's a lot of people who are saying like, oh, he's got to be a guard. No, I think he can play tackle. I think he will. He's a solid guy. Love Spencer Fano. Going was it pick 9? Yes, because I traded back with the Cincinnati Bengals. So again, you gotta have a great offensive line to hopefully see if Shedeur can be the guy, whoever can be the guy. I don't know who going to be the guy is for the the Cleveland Browns, but you gotta get somebody back there, and hopefully it works out. But if your offensive line's fine, you can actually have some kind of evaluation of your quarterback. So, Steelers, I called this like about a month before the draft because watching Jeremy Bernard reminded me so much of like Mike McCarthy's like 2010s wide receivers. And so him going to the Steelers, find it kind of funny, but like I kind of thought I was like, well maybe, but then I was like, well, like they already have like two main guys. Like, do they really want to draft a wide receiver kind of high? And no, like they did, and I'm so happy for it. I love Jeremy Bernard. I think he's a solid guy. I mean, you're probably going to bring back Aaron Rodgers, so again, you have him being a reliable wide receiver that I think that Rodgers actually would like. Hopefully, who knows? But I like Jeremy Bernard. He's a solid option. I think Pittsburgh's going to fall in love with him too because again, he's like a great blocker. He doesn't give up on plays. So again, I love him. I love him to death. Even as an Auburn fan, I still love Jeremy Bernard. So going to the AFC East, the Bills' first couple of picks. What I'm not the biggest fan of. I'm not the biggest fan of T.J. Parker or the corner they got from Ohio State. But in the fourth round, it was so hard to choose which fourth round pick that I want to talk about because like I love Jude Bowery, but he's more of like developmental role, maybe a potential, like I said, future for like if Deion Dawkins or Spencer Brown goes down, could go in that direction. Could go in the direction of the linebacker from TCU. Names, I'm missing the name right now, but going into a new defensive scheme, he fits that role. So again, maybe he's like developing into like a pretty decent linebacker, but I think that's like it's still kind of up in the air. But Skylar Bell, I would be very surprised if Skylar Bell in a Joe Brady led offense doesn't work out. Maybe in the first like 2 years he doesn't have like the biggest role because like I said he's sitting behind DJ Moore, he's sitting behind Khalil Shakir, but like He's the kind of guy who's going to be able to get open, who's going to be able to get yards down the field, and like I said, he's got a guy that's like I said, very very reliable catching the ball in third down. So again, he improved vastly from when he was at Wisconsin, going to UConn. He stayed at UConn, had a great year this past year. Yeah, he's an older prospect, but he's from the Bronx, so he's from New York, playing in New York. Yes, like obviously, like I said, Buffalo's different than the Bronx, but still, if you didn't know. But like he's gonna be playing with probably with people who can be able to come to see his games. Because again, a little bit of a drive, but that's not that bad if you're going from the Bronx all the way to Buffalo and be able to see, like I said, maybe someone you grew up with or friends, family coming to see him play. I think that a lot of people in New York are going to love him so much, and hopefully he uplifts this wide receiver group that I think can be kind of dangerous going into next year. So again, Skylar Bell in the fourth, love him to death. Dolphins, oh my gosh, it sickened me so much when they got Jacob Rodriguez in the second because he is going to work out so well. One, Halfley coming from the Packers and the kind of development they did for the linebackers. You have Jordan Brooks and Jacob Rodriguez next to each other. That's an incredible duo. Like, do I think the Miami Dolphins will be great next year? No. But the fact that they pretty much have their linebackers for the next, I mean, Jordan Brooks is how old? He's like, 26 years old? For the next, 4 years, that's important for the Dolphins. You have your leaders, your defense. Hopefully, you kind of build out that whole entire defense. Hopefully, build out your offense. Your offense, especially your weapons are atrocious. But you're building up a great roster for the future. Not right now, but I would be surprised if Jacob Rodriguez doesn't work out. In a Jeff Hafley led defense where prioritize having a lot of great linebacker play, I'd be surprised if Jacob Rodriguez doesn't work out. Patriots, Caleb Lomu. Patriots are an interesting spot, and yes, Caleb Lomu's dance is weird, but he's eventually going to be the replacement for Morgan Moses in the future. I think he's a pretty solid tackle. You need great linebacker. You need great offensive line play, and so you just need to make sure that if Morgan Moses goes down, you actually have an option. I don't think he's going to replace Will Campbell. I think that's been some people are like, oh, he's going to move Will Campbell inside. No, I don't think it's going to happen. But is he going to play in year one? Maybe not, but he's more of a future down the road pick for Caleb Lomu. I don't mind that for the Patriots. Golly. Jets, a lot of picks to choose from. I'm going Omar Cooper Jr., a yak ability threat that has great blocking as well. In a Frank Reich system that I'm hoping works out. Like I said, I don't hate Frank Reich as a former Panthers head coach, but I'm just hoping the Jets do decent this year. Like I said, it sucks to see them constantly being bad. Hopefully, have a great year. And I'm hoping for also Aaron Glenn. But Omar Cooper Jr., I love him to death. I love him as a great yak ability, and him being paired with Garrett Wilson is great for him too. So AFC South, kind of run down through these. Texans, love K. McDonald. Great run stuffer that's going to be helping out this defensive line that is ridiculous. So you have two power great edge rushers, and then you have your defensive tackles manning the middle for the next at least 4 years. And is going to give you a lot of pass rush? No, but he's also going to take up some double teams that is going to free up some of your pass rush. So again, I love Caleb McDonald. I would put Keelan Rush here, but I think Caleb McDonald is going to be a great impact in year one. So I love Caleb McDonald. Colts, I hated that they got A.J. Halsey from LSU. He's a great free safety. They desperately needed it. So now their safety room is pretty daggum good with him and Bynum. So again, you got a great safety play for the next 4 or so years. You're probably going to re-sign Bynum in the near future. So again, Colts need great players. And so now your secondary looks pretty good with Sauce Gardner coming back. And hopefully you can make a run. I kind of doubt it, but hopefully you can. And AJ Halsey can be a great addition to that. Jaguars, your draft was atrocious, but good Lord, you actually got Emmanuel Pregnon, which is a great pick for y'all because again, great guard. But your whole entire draft is tainted outside of him. So again, it's pretty obvious to pick him as being the guy who's going to work out. I could go all in on the Jaguars there, but again, Emmanuel Pregnon being good. And Titans, I could have picked one of the 2 first-round picks, but instead, knowing Robert Saleh, just getting a linebacker for Robert Saleh is going to turn this guy into pretty good. So again, Anthony Hill's got great athletic traits. I think he's going to work out for the Titans just because I have faith in Robert Saleh. So again, linebacker going to Robert Saleh. They needed linebacker as well. Him being paired with Barton, I believe Cody Barton, who's there. So again, I would be very surprised if he doesn't work out. Last one, AFC West. Kind of running through these. Broncos, Jonah Coleman. So again, Jonah Coleman, I was not the biggest fan of. I'm not the biggest fan of this draft by the Broncos, but like I know that Jonah Coleman can work out in Sean Payton's system. So again, Jonah Coleman being paired with RJ Harvey for the future, and just like finding a role as being like a bruiser. Does he have breakaway speed? No, but that's more so RJ Harvey's role. So again, don't mind that at all. I think he's gonna be solid. Not gonna be like a star, but like be a solid player that Broncos fans are gonna love. They already love him right now. Chiefs could go in a lot of different directions, but they need pass rush, and that is Mason Thomas to a T. Again, is he like the normal edge rusher that Spags wants? No, but he is going to get pressure, and now you have a pretty dangerous defensive line that hopefully holds up. But I love R. Mason Thomas. He's a game wrecker. You saw it time and time again. Like, I'm an Auburn fan, so seeing him absolutely brutalize Auburn was something to see for sure. But he's a great player. But he's very surprised if he doesn't work out because I think he's, like I said, above all, he's going to get probably like close to 7 sacks this season, which is great especially for this Chiefs that need it. Raiders, Mendoza. Like I said, quarterback. Be very hard for him not to work out in a Clint Kubiak-led offense. So year one, not going to do much, more than likely. But for the future, I think it's pretty good because they're going to build the offense around him. Lastly, Chargers. Could go a lot of directions, but yes, he's 25 years old. Akeem Mesidor in the first round, but you got a guy who's good right now, being paired up with Khalil Mack, being paired up with Tuli. So again, you got 2 great edge rushers already. That's going to be great rotation for him. That I think is going to bring up that pass rush, and hopefully the Chargers can actually win something for once since I don't know when the last time they won a playoff game. But again, I like Akeem Mesidor. I think he's going to work out. And yeah, he might not be a second contract, but again, if you get a guy who like for 5 years and he's on the cheap for you, why wouldn't you? So again, thank you so much for watching the video. I know I kind of like rushed through these at the very end. And I'm sorry I'm coughing a lot. So hopefully you like the video in between all the coughing. But if you have any ideas or like not any ideas, but like any comments to share about like who you think that's going to work on the NFL, please let me know. I'd love to hear your comments in the comments below. And as always, thanks so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.